What's up, everybody? It is Colin Nitro for Nitro Maniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited, coming at you with another Nitro's take, and this was a big one as AEW held arguably its biggest pay-per-view ever, with the return back from the pandemic and the return of a live crowd at Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. It is a Double or Nothing 2021 in opinion and review. The date was May 30th, 2021, held over Memorial Day weekend in the United States. And yeah, I got a chance to watch it up here in Canada. So this is strictly my thoughts, my opinions on the card as well. If you're interested, I have a racing channel as well, and I got merch for the racing channel too. tinyurl.com/dragfile for more information on that. But let's talk about the pay-per-view here. Start things off with the match from a buy-in, and this was for the NWA World Women's Championship. A week before that title is supposed to go on pay-per-view itself with the NWA, a week before When Our Shadows Fall, which will be on June 6, 2021 in Atlanta, Georgia. Serena Deeb put up the NWA World Women's Championship on the line against Riho. The winner of this match would take on either one of Thunder Rosa or Camille, or both. It's kind of leaning on that show on NWA Power. We might find out this week on the Go Home show that will be a triple threat or a three-way match for the NWA World Women's Championship. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what the official match announcement will be, but one half of the equation was solved during the buy-in tonight. And that equation is the champion retained. Yes, Serena Deeb won with the Serenity Lock with an instant tap, and she retained the title. The runtime was 14 minutes and 5 seconds. This was a banger. This was an incredible opener. Maybe one of the best pre-show matches I've seen since Austin Aries and Neville back in 2017 at WrestleMania 33 when I was there live, tore it down for the Cruiserweight Championship in Orlando. This thing was hot right from the get-go. A great match, great back and forth match. The psychology here was Riho was injured early on in the match with her knee, and Serena just kept going to work on it. But Riho, of course, has got the heart of the champion, former AEW Women's Champion, of course, and wouldn't say no at all. And the two of them put together a pretty entertaining contest, let me tell you. If you haven't had a chance, this match is on YouTube. It's on all the streaming services for free. Go check it out. Low-key match of the year candidate, can we say? Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the best buy-in pre-show matches from any promotion in a long time, and that usually, I don't want to say it's a throwaway spot, but you usually don't expect a lot out of those. So kudos to both women for an amazing performance there. We didn't open the pay-per-view proper, no opening video or anything. We come just right up on fans acting nuts, which is great. Brian Cage versus Hangman Adam Page. The FTW title was not on the line here. Cage walked out in his Terminator gear, and then a huge pop for Adam Page and a hot start right away in there. And this match itself ran 12 minutes right on the dot. It ended with an incredible sequence, closing with a spinning Liger bomb by Cage that only netted a 2 count for the big man. But then Team Taz came out, and Cage didn't want their help. So the division between Cage and Team Taz continues in storyline, and this allows Hangman to hit the buckshot lariat for the 1-2-3 count again in 12 minutes. I'm thinking that this could be it for Brian Cage and Team Taz. I think that once we get around to Friday on Dynamite, I think the storyline might start where Cage is on their way out. Maybe they're working in a new member for Team Taz. Who knows? It would be fun to see him go up against Team Taz in the coming weeks. Yes, exactly. Once Starks heals up with the neck injury, and then just seeing Hobbs and Cage go one-on-one would be fun. Two huge powerhouse hosses going one-on-one. I think that's a maybe main event for Dynamite in the upcoming weeks leading into All Out. So up next, the tag match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. The champions, the Young Bucks, taking on Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, the team that's been dubbed Wild Thing. And man, they came out with the full Major League music and a huge pop from the crowd. It was amazing. Bucks are pissed that their shoes got purloined, and Mox and Kingston are just being Mox and Kingston. So there is a hot start to this one as well, as Mox and Kingston jump the Young Bucks as the streamers hit the ring, kind of AJPW style from the 80s, a little bit of Hanson and Brody influence there. I didn't notice Brandon Cutler coming out, but he did. The Violent Crown by Mox and Kingston. They're tag team finisher, dispatches Cutler. He's not a factor for the rest of the match. And then the match itself was pretty good. I did enjoy this one. This was 21 minutes. So it ended with the Bucks hitting the BTE trigger once in the ring, but Mox is still kind of standing up on his own 2 feet, kind of out on his feet. And about 3 more BTE triggers by both Bucks netted a free count after numerous amount of near falls for the Mox Kingston combination and so on and so forth. And this felt like just the first match in a feud. I think that we're going to see another match later on down the line. Lots of time between now and September, so I think that you might get a couple of Dynamite main events with this foursome again going after the AEW tag team titles. So still really great match. I did enjoy this one. The Casino Royale Battle Royal was up next, in which the winner would be granted a AEW World Title shot later on in the summer. As we found out, it's 2 weeks from now on, I think, the first Wednesday night edition of Dynamite coming back. Again, Dynamite's on Friday this week, so not this coming week, but next week again. It's back on Wednesdays. It's the NBA playoffs on TNT. It's a big deal for them. So we had Jungle Boy winning in 23-30, last eliminating Christian Cage. A lot of neat stuff happening to continue some storylines in this match. You had the potential kickoff of a storyline between Private Party and Varsity Blondes, with Private Party being responsible for both Garrison and Pillman Jr. getting eliminated in this thing. There was a standoff between Matt Hardy and Christian to play off of their history. There is just a ton of stuff that happened, too numerous to mention here because I'd be here all night to talk about it. Jungle Boy and Christian Cage were the last two, and yeah, phenomenal contest. I thought it was a really great ending, and they've perfected this Casino Battle Royale concept of what they did tonight. This was the best Casino Royale Battle Royal I've seen. We have a big tribute for Memorial Day. It is Memorial Day weekend in the States. And then finally, we have Anthony Ogogo making his pay-per-view debut versus Cody Rhodes. We got the Factory versus the Nightmare Family here, and Rhodes channeling a bit of NWA champ Nick Aldis with the gear a bit here, and a little bit of a symphonic tweak to Cody's music for the Memorial Day weekend, of course, and of course for one night only, it's the American Dream, Cody Rhodes. So this match itself ran 10 minutes and 55 seconds with Cody Rhodes defeating Anthony Ogogo, and the finish was something to behold here because Cody Rhodes busted out the Shane Helms Vertebreaker. Of course, Shane Helms, go back to my WCW Greed Nitros take that I did over a year ago. Actually, it's the last video I did before the pandemic hit, and I tell the entire story of the Vertebreaker there, as we interpret it, at least the fans and the smart marks online and so on and so forth. It's there. Check it out. This move was banned by WWE as a finisher in the months after the sale of WCW to WWE back in 2001. And man, Ogogo took it textbook. This was, he didn't goof around on it, and Cody delivered it textbook as well. So very interesting. Kudos to both those guys. Very entertaining contest. Ogogo is going to be a huge star for AEW in the future. The blueprint is there, and I think that even with the disability of the blindness on his left side and that stuff, I don't think that that's going to be an issue. I think that if anything, he is such a superb athlete. He's a former Olympian and I think a former medalist at the Olympics too. So the guy can adapt to adversity and just train and know how to work smart and he's an athlete at heart, right? So he'll be good. Very impressed with him in this contest. And Cody getting the win. It's Memorial Day. Go America, I guess. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of Anthony Ogogo in the future. Next contest was for the TNT Championship. Miro, the champion, taking on Lance Archer sans Jake Roberts. Yes, no Jake Roberts after he was jumped at FanFest yesterday. Hot start flying plancha by Archer to the outside. Only a 1 count off the mid-rope moonsault by Archer. And fast forwarding to the finish of this thing, Jake Roberts hits ringside, but Miro catches him. He brings a bag with him to ringside, but Miro tossed it. So the illusion being that there's a snake in the bag like Jake used to bring in his his WWF run and WCW run in the late 80s, early 90s. But of course, Miro just grabs the bag and just tosses it back up the ramp, and the entire crowd just turns on Miro. Like, if there was any Miro fans in the ring, I think that was, the turning point definitely in that match. And I imagine AEW will be getting some calls from PETA for that, even though that there was no snake in there. The illusion was pretty good. That Miro just flat out just grabbed the bag and just tossed it back up the frickin' ramp, right, with a live animal in it. Scary stuff for sure. Game over by Miro, and Archer goes out, doesn't submit at all, but he just is knocked out, and Miro retains. The runtime for this one was 9 minutes and 50 seconds. Miro retains the TNT title by defeating Lance Archer via knockout, is the official decision. All Out is back in Chicago, Labor Day weekend, September 5th. We did kind of expect a announcement for All Out, it being back in Chicago. No venue was mentioned during the pay-per-view, but we can only assume that it is the former Sears Center. I can't remember what the new name of the building is, but it's the one that they ran for All In, and they have subsequently, with the exception of last year, have ran All Out there back in 2019 as well. So, and I think they've had a Dynamite there in the same building. So it's home to them. It's their important building. It's their Madison Square Garden, if you will. So, of course, they're going to run it there. AEW World Women's title on the line next. Dr. Britt Baker with Rebel in her corner, taking on Hikaru Shida, the champion. That's a hot feud that started during the pandemic, and both women going for the finishers early on in this match. Like the first minute, lockjaw attempt by Baker, and then a Tamashi by Shida, and both of them come up empty. So you knew that this was a high-risk type contest and that this was going to be good. And this was all right. I really, again, enjoyed this match. I don't think that there was a sleeper match on this card tonight. I enjoyed everything that I seen from top to bottom. The run time for this one was 17 minutes and 20 seconds. Maybe a little bit on the longish side. The world title match, when we get to it, I think definitely was on the longish side, which I felt it kind of dragged a little bit at times. But this one was good because the crowd was hot into it, and this was great. Shida finally hits the Tomashi during the match, only that's a 2 count, but then she goes for it again. It's reversed, and a lockjaw attempt by Britt Baker is successful, and Shida taps out. The new champ is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and post-match, her friend Tony Schiavone, of course, and Dr. Baker just embrace at the top of the ramp because it's a big deal. And I think this might have been the catalyst for a face turn for her a little bit, because I felt that the crowd was more behind her than they were Hikaru Shida, and at this point, that's good because AEW needs a hot babyface women's champion right now that the fans can get behind, that really kind of validates the division a little bit. There were a little bit of shades of gray, going into the pandemic and that stuff, and Shida was good. Shida got a fan following and that stuff, and is a great technician, of course, to hold the belt and so on and so forth. But I think that going forward, having Baker as the World Women's Champion for AEW is nothing but a good thing. The next contest, Sting making his first in-ring appearance in 6 years in a match in front of fans. This is not a cinematic, and Darby Allin taking on Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. Sky and Page are debuting their new tag team, the Men of the Year, with their new Titantron and music and so forth. And then there's a cool video for Sting and Darby. By the way, the runtime for the women's match was 17 minutes and 20 seconds. The runtime for this one, Sting, Darby Allin defeating Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, was 12 minutes and 30 seconds. No one home on a Stinger Splash, but it sets up the finish where Scorpion Death Drop on Scorpio Sky via Sting for the 1-2-3. And that was it. Sting really impressed me. I know he was kind of limited in the ring with what they did. Darby took the majority of the bumps, and I think that's how that's going to be going forward. But, to get him out there in a match and not in a cinematic and in front of crowds, I thought was phenomenal. And he showed up. And, man, the pop at the beginning of the match when he took off the shirt, and it was the wrestling gear, no flak jacket, as was rumored that he had during the cinematic match, no extra padding, whatever. This was, the wrestler Sting showing up. It was great. It was awesome. AEW World Championship on the line next. The challengers, Orange Cassidy and Pac, taking on Kenny Omega, the champion. Does the belt collector's collection get smaller? Well, no, it doesn't. The runtime for this one was 27 minutes, and Kenny Omega retains. Kenny basically laid out Pac about 3 or 4 times with each of his belts that he has. You know, the 4 title belts, the AAA belt, the Impact belt, the TNA belt, and the AEW Championship, all used to lay out Pac. So he's not a factor anymore. But orange punch by Cassidy. He goes for a 2 count, but Omega reaches deep and nails a crucifix small package for the 1-2-3. So he used the wrestling hold because he is the best wrestler on the planet right now to beat the up-and-coming guy in AEW, Orange Cassidy. So to me, what that sets up is probably a one-on-one later on down the line, maybe at All Out in September between Orange Cassidy and Kenny Omega. So maybe we'll see that. Now, in a couple of weeks, Jungle Boy versus Kenny Omega. Do I see Jungle Boy beating Kenny Omega for the belt at that point? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that it's going to be Omega's belt to lose through the summer, and I think that they hold on to that until maybe potentially All Out, or maybe potentially Full Gear, which we found out the details for that as well. This was the surprise. Full Gear in St. Louis, Missouri, November 6th. Yes, they announced all the dates for the rest of the pay-per-views for the year that they're going to run for AEW. I guess to get the tickets going and get ticket sales going. So Chicago gets All Out. St. Louis will get Full Gear. I think there'll be fans going to both because they're kind of in the same geographic area and they have a little bit of a rivalry. So who can fill up the building the quickest, I guess. There is a surprise announcement as well for AEW Rampage, which is going to be the second show that'll be on TBS that'll debut, I think, in the fall that I've heard and seen. But Mark Henry will be a special guest analyst on AEW Rampage. He is also a coach for AEW now, and that's the whole deal. Flipping back, I almost forgot this, but the mystery participant in the Casino Royale Battle Royal was Leo Rush, and he looked phenomenal in the Casino Royale Battle Royal. He drew the Joker card and came out. So 2 huge acquisitions for AEW tonight with both Leo Rush and Mark Henry coming into the fold. This is very interesting because the 2 of them were involved in a Twitter beef, which ended up to the point where I'm not sure that it actually went through or not, but Mark Henry had threatened to sue Leo Rush for defamation over on Twitter last year at the very beginning of the pandemic. So obviously I think that this has been ironed out a little bit, and it's becoming a big enough company that if you got one guy on Rampage and you got the other guy, let's say Rush, working dark elevation and getting wins, and maybe once in a while he shows up on Dynamite or on a pay-per-view or something, then it's different worlds basically. You know, just if there is any sort of beef, you just keep them apart. I don't think there is. I think that, you know, whatever beef might have been kind of settled and put aside. And Rush seems like a more mature person than he was even a couple of years ago when he had got released from WWE. I think he's become more humble, and his ring work is, chef's kiss, amazing right now. As was evident during the GCW shows during the Collective during WrestleMania weekend. You know, he's gotten better, if that's even possible. So then came the main event of the pay-per-view. It was Stadium Stampede 2, the Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle. And they pulled a fast one on us, folks. Everybody thought that this was going to be a cinematic. And we watched this, and it felt like a cinematic. But then I had mentioned on Twitter that, hey, this feels more like a WWF hardcore match from back in the day where, you know, at some point this will spill out back into the ring. And sure enough, it did. We don't have a runtime as of recording right now for that contest. But I would have to imagine that it was about 20-25 minutes in length or whatever. It had a lot of the flavor of last year's Stadium Stampede, but shenanigan-wise and gag-wise, there was a lot of fresh stuff. You had Wardlow and Jake Hager fighting in a freezer. You had MJF and Chris Jericho fighting in the coach's room at TIAA Bank Field with a cameo appearance by one Urban Meyer, who's the head coach for the Jags. Jericho busted MJF's head over Urban Meyer's laptop. Basically, he grabs Urban Meyer's laptop and just busts MJF open with it. It was a great spot. Well, actually, I think MJF got busted open when they fought into Shad Khan's office and went through a glass door. So a lot of stuff tore up there, but then eventually the match kind of spills back to the stadium, which was kind of cool. It was really cool. There was a neat little deal in a nightclub portion where Santana and Ortiz started fighting with FTR and Tully Blanchard, and of course Conan and the former LAX, Santana and Ortiz, have a long history going back to Impact Wrestling. Again, some of the past Nitro takes from 2017 will tell you about that. So I was with everybody else on Twitter that was kind of along the corner of, man, this seems kind of hokey where you have a night of live wrestling and then your last match is on tape. It's kind of a bummer, but they just wanted the live crowd reactions, and it's AEW faithful at an AEW pay-per-view. They're going to stick around and watch it anyway, so kudos to them. And then Chris and MJF battled back to the Daly's place, to the arena. And they got to fighting in amongst the fans and that stuff, and Chris lays out MJF with one of those spotlights. By the way, my cable box was goofing something serious during this as well. I was getting pixels as big as cats. So if I'm missing some stuff, forgive me. But it's just that I didn't see it. I was seeing still frames. I saw about 3 or 4 minutes of action and then 30 seconds of still frames. But the coup de grace, the ending of this whole deal, was Sammy Guevara and Shawn Spears fighting back to the ring, and both of them fighting for each faction. Spears representing the Pinnacle and Guevara representing the Inner Circle. Home run hit by Spears on Guevara with a chair, only nets a 2 count, but then Guevara fights back, hulks back up, or if you will, or fights back up, fires back up. Guevara hits a curb stomp into the chair, and that allows Guevara to get up top and hit his 630 for the 1-2-3, and the Inner Circle wins. Post-match, the Inner Circle hit the ring and celebrate. They get redemption for Blood and Guts. Each faction is now 1-1 in faction warfare. So, and the pay-per-view goes off the air with the Inner Circle and the crowd singing Judas and the whole deal going to dark. So it's out at 3 hours and 58 minutes on the dot. So this ended up being one of the tightest match of the night polls that I do on Twitter. You can follow me at Twitter at Kellen Nitro, and after every pay-per-view, I will fire up a poll getting your pick for match of the night. And for AEW Double or Nothing, I actually had to kind of rig it again and do another poll on top of a poll, and that's if I get 2 of the finalists going head-to-head with each other. So the 2 finalists that were actually tied after, believe it or not, 2 rounds of votes were the Adam Page, Brian Cage, Hangman Adam Page, Brian Cage opener, and the event opener between Serena Deeb and Riho. And what ended up happening was, Page and Cage is your pick for match of the night after several rounds of vote downs and you name it. So honorable mention to the Bucks and Wild Thing tag team AEW title match, and of course Stadium Stampede 2 got some votes. Omega Pack and Cassidy got some votes. Shida and Baker got some votes, but I'm going to go ahead and call it Hangman Adam Page, Brian Cage is your match of the night for AEW Double or Nothing. So kudos to those gents for sure. I'm going to give the entire show an 8 out of 10. Very watchable. The fans brought it. Awesome stuff. And yeah, it's good to see wrestling back full bore with fans, and AEW is just cruising along. So love it. Alright folks, later days, happy wrestling watching. Catch me next time here on the channel. Subscribe up, tinyurl.com/NitroManiac TV. And we'll see you next time here on Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited. Take care.